Hello and welcome to this unboxing video for a Campark T20 camera. This is a camera I've purchased myself. This video is unsponsored, but this is a model of camera I already use in my garden to video hedgehogs and badgers. The camera says it's waterproof. My experience is it is, but you have to be careful. Once you've opened the camera, you've gone past the seal and you have to make sure you don't accidentally add any more moisture in. We'll come back to that later. It is a small camera for what it does. The trigger time, it says half a second to 0.8 of a second. It's relatively fast. You can buy cameras that are faster. They tend to be a lot more expensive, and that's part of the trade-offs. Selecting which camera is right for you is like selecting a car. There are a lot of similar features between the different models, but there are times where you get higher quality for paying a considerably higher sum. So I've utilized a camera for some imagery which has a much faster trigger time and took some very high quality images, but it was about 10 times the price of this camera. And so there is an element of you get what you pay for. In most circumstances, I would prefer to have a few of these smaller cameras dotted around, able to take pictures from different locations, than one more expensive camera in the middle, and then you're not sure where the animals are coming from. You just know they've arrived in front of your camera. It says it has a 5-month standby time. It could well be true. I've never left a camera for that long. The thing that really eats up battery power is nighttime footage, when the infrared lights are putting out a lot of infrared energy, and that takes your battery power. It does high quality video recording. It says a 20-meter triggering distance. That depends on the animal. Obviously in my garden, badgers trigger a lot better at distance than hedgehogs, for example. Again, claims of high resolution still imagery. I tend not to take still photographs, but the ones that I have done have come out well. It has its own display inside, which is useful. There's the claims 20 meters range for the infrared LEDs. I'll say a few words about that. There's a little bit of always difficulty with these sorts of cameras on nighttime photography, and 128 degree sensor, so passive infrared, so 120 degrees is about that, and that's about the same as the camera lens will take. It's quite a wide angle lens. So that's the outside of the box. Apologies for the pause there, I thought I was going to cough. So if we open up the box, there's a note from the supplier. You can tell this was purchased online. There's a warning note. Just the advice before you start. All sensible points. Take the film off things, put the memory card in, make sure there aren't any obstructions in the line of sight. Talking about video recording, and infrared light uses a lot of battery power. Yes, it does seriously affect battery life. The camera itself comes wrapped in a plastic bag. This is the camera, but it comes with in the package it comes with a variety of accessories. Useful to do things like mount the camera, a webbing strap, a USB lead, and a set of metalwork to enable the camera to be mounted. And then there is also the instruction manual. move the box out of the way. The instruction manual is very simple. It's actually available as a PDF online as well. It's got basic instructions for setting up the camera, and then somewhere there's a quick troubleshooting as well. Yeah, simple troubleshooting. You'll find if you've not really used a camera before, there are a couple of things that you can end up making simple errors on, such as accidentally locking the SD card. So that is useful to go through just to check. But as I say, you can find this online as a PDF. Actually, this you can get rid of quickly. This is a USB lead that plugs into a socket on the base of the camera. The socket's just there. This allows you to read the memory card if you don't want to take the memory card out. You can't reprogram, as far as I can tell, the camera with this. So it's useful in some ways, and it stops moisture getting into the camera with the SD card, which is a problem that some camera users have found with a variety of models of cameras, and I'll come to that in just a second. So let's look at the camera itself. I should note at this point I've done an earlier video doing an introduction to the T20. I'll briefly recap some of the features, but I won't repeat some of the elements that I did in the other video, such as going through the menu options. I'll put the link to the other video in the comments below. But just a quick outline of the camera. It's got a fairly tough case. It's fairly thin plastic. It feels thinner than some of the more expensive cameras, but it's perfectly adequate for the job. There's still the protective film on a lot of these things. You remember to take that off before you use it. It's got a tough waterproof seal around the camera, which is very good to stop water getting in. And there's an external power supply socket, which again has got a good waterproof element to it. When we open up the camera, you'll see there's a black seal around the edge. That's the waterproof seal, and that's the main waterproofing protection. And as I noted earlier, there's always a problem once you've opened the camera up. If you change the batteries with wet hands, or the SD card goes in here, for example, if you take the SD card out and put it back in, having handled the SD card with wet hands, there's a little bit of moisture there. When you close the camera back up to put it out, connect it to something, that moisture is then inside, and that moisture can migrate over time and can affect the electronics. And my guess is that's the main reason why some of these cameras go wrong. So be careful with moisture. So yes, as we've pointed out, that's the SD card slot. The batteries go there. That's your screen, and there's menus that can be operated by these buttons. The power input there matches the hole there when the camera is closed. There's a socket for doing audio-visual connection, so you can connect to a television, although no lead is applied to do that, but you can get those quite easily. Any audio that you've recorded will be played via that speaker. The audio is recorded with through a little hole there, where there's a microphone behind. And as noted before, that's where the USB socket is, and that's the on-off switch, which halfway has a setup point at which the menu buttons work here. Key thing about any wildlife camera is how you can fix it to things so it can take good pictures. This camera's got two loops at the back where you can put the strap through. I'll talk about that more in a minute. And a tripod mount. Very useful. The tripod mount is away from the camera body itself. It's behind the battery case. I know somebody with a very expensive camera, as in a normal single lens reflex camera, which had a very shallow tripod hole, and he put in a device with a much longer screw in it, and it damaged his camera. So it's nice to see the tripod mount separate from the camera, but it does give a slight balance problem because the weight will pull the camera forward, but it's such a light camera that's not an issue. So if we look at the tripod mounting arrangement that it comes with, that's the tripod screw on the end there, and this has a bolt with a couple of nuts to be able to go into the plate that's applied. These are very useful little devices. They've got 2 wing nuts on to be able to tighten them, but it means you can fix the mount to a tree, is what is in their illustration, and fix the camera onto the top there. Or I actually often use it on a piece of old fence post. I've got one, so it sits something like that, sits on a fence post, so that the camera sits on the ground. It's a great way of being able to put a camera behind bushes and things, because I can lean forward with the bit of fence post. And the tripod unit just simply screws on to the camera this way, and the nut with its rubber washer. So this is all finger tight. Obviously you have to tighten them up properly, so that allows you to mount in a variety of ways, you know, or perhaps off a tree, something like that. You just have to be aware that everything's tightened up so the camera doesn't droop, and that's an advantage of it being a lightweight camera. Is, you know, you put a heavier camera on a mount like this, and you'd have more problems. But the tripod screw means you can fit to a variety of mounting systems. A conventional camera tripod. I found there's some nice clips with tripods on, tripod screws on, that are very useful. And then the last point is the strap. I'm not going to undo this strap. I've got quite a few of them, having bought a number of these cameras. I'll get another one in a second. These clips in there are very useful. Here's one that's attached to another camera I have. It's a very simple process to put the strap on and clip it round, so it can be strapped around a tree, or this one's normally used around an upright post in the garden that's quite thin, and that's why the green clip has been added. If we look at the new camera, you'll see there's quite a space there. That's good for some circumstances, but there's a lump sticking out at the base, and if you strapped this to a thin pole, it would actually be pointing upwards a bit, which isn't so useful. This green clip, and it's just simply a supermarket bag closing clip, you know, for plastic bags. This acts as a spacer, so when it's up against a thin object like an upright pole, the camera is now vertical, which makes life a lot easier. It also has another advantage. When you're undoing this clip, you know, say round a larger tree, it's sometimes difficult, especially if you're picking up a number of cameras, when you undo that clip to hold on to the camera at both ends of the strap and then use 2 hands. If you just hold one end of the strap, it's fine if you hold this end and there's no clip there, because the clip of the end of the strap will stop the camera falling. If, however, you hold this end, if this green clip wasn't there, the strap would fall out of the camera and the camera would fall to the ground. So these clips have 2 purposes, and all the cameras I use, I have them, and because the clips come in a variety of colours, it's actually a quite easy way of remembering which camera is which when you're doing certain tasks. Especially useful if you've got children. If you have children helping you with a wildlife garden project, one of the key problems I found with cameras is children dropping them. This helps reduce that risk. So that's the Campark T20 unboxed. You'll see that I've modified this one. This is to do with the infrared lighting. The lighting can be a bit dazzling sometimes, and this is plain ordinary masking tape. Helps diffuse the light a bit. So this is the T20. As I said, I've done a video that goes through the menu setup. I've also done a video on powering and making battery choices, which you might find useful. The links to all of those will be in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you found this useful. The likes are especially useful to help other people find videos that are actually helpful. There's a lot of videos on a lot of subjects that aren't as useful as others, and when people are trying to find the good ones or the useful ones, the search engines seem to use the likes as a measure of how people have appreciated the videos. So I would appreciate if you were able to like this video. I hope you enjoy wildlife cameras. They are a great hobby. On my YouTube channel there's a lot of footage taken with T20 cameras. Look at those. You may learn how to set up various shots that will help you in your hobby. Thank you for watching.